Welcome to 2025. I kind of can't believe I'm saying that it's actually 2025. My name is Asia Suler. I am an author, an earth intuitive, a teacher, and every year I give an intuitive reading for the year ahead. Back when I used to see clients in one-on-one intuitive readings, I worked mainly through images. And so every year at the start of the year, I ask the earth and my guides to send me an image to guide us through the year ahead. So this image was very interesting to me because it actually came through spontaneously before I even sat down in meditation and asked for an image. And it was this image. I've been calling it the golden ring, but there's a lot of layers to it. So our image for this new year, the golden ring, first came in as, if you ever see those videos of blacksmithing or you've seen it in person where you have the metal that first starts to heat up and it's sort of red around the perimeter, like it's a golden ember, deep red. So this was the image I got. It was almost like this like dark center with this like red ring around it. And before I really even understood what it was, and I was just calling it the golden ring, it really had this sense of mystery and power and potential to it. Deep mystery, power, and potential. Then this is before I sat down to really receive information about what this image means. I was watching a Christmas movie and they had a montage scene of major news events and images of the past handful of years. And they had this image, this photograph from 2019 flash across the screen. And I looked at it and I said, that is what I've been seeing. What is that? Turns out that picture was a photograph, the first photograph ever of a black hole. So I had full body goosebumps and so much to learn about, so much to integrate as this image came in. But the more I learned about black holes, the more I understood why I was literally shown this image for this new year. And so before I start to talk a little bit about the year ahead, I just want to say that this is a soul forging year. Like think about be a smith at a forge. This is a soul forging year. And so I'm sticking with the name of the golden ring because I think actually there's this aspect, the forging aspect, that's really important for us to remember as we walk into this year, especially because sometimes we hear the words black holes and we're like, oh gosh, what does that mean? But I'm going to reframe it for you in a way to help you see just really how actually like fertile and generous and generative this is and will be for you. There's no doubt in my mind that 2025 is going to be a very big year. Like the words that came in for me were life-changing year. There are really big things on the horizon. Like I said before, a lot of power, a lot of potential. This is a passage this year, not just personally, but globally. We're moving through a passage, and it's also going to be an information revealing year, especially information about your own self, your own soul, your own journey of coming into embodiment and embodying your soul here on this planet. I have this feeling that this year is going to give you the template for what's possible for you in your life, in this world, and a template that maybe you haven't even conceived it before or didn't actually have access to, but you will after this year. So let's now talk about the golden ring. I really want to draw your attention to the ring itself first, because this is how it first came in for me. Looking at this ring of light, of red golden light surrounding the center. And I think there's a reason why my guides asked me to tune into this first before I even understood what image they were showing me. And it's because of this. The ring, right, symbolizes in our culture often commitment. And so there's this invitation here in this year of 2025, this big life-changing passage of a year to like recommit to the eternal aspect of you. So I'm not necessarily talking about earthly commitments, although those may come up this year, like I'm going to commit to that project. I'm talking about remembering the commitments that you came in with, that this is a year to like recommit to your soul's journey, to recommit to why you came here, even if you're not completely clear on that, but you're recommitting to it. You're recommitting to the eternal aspect of yourself that came here to play out this journey. And one of the images I got is from Lord of the Rings, the one ring to rule them all. When it's heated up, you can see I think it's Elvish on the band. But that like the words like start glowing when it's been heated or when it's been touched in a certain way. I don't remember all the details of the movie, but I saw this image and it was almost like that guiding image of like, this is a year to remember, like, as we enter the heat of this year, to remember like, what was the commitment? And there's a freedom in that. There's such a freedom in remembering what was the commitment. What was the original commitment of why I came here? We get sidetracked all the time into commitments we think are important or what other people are asking of us. But this year is a year of remembering the original commitment, like the original commitment of your soul. Like, oh, right, that's why I came here. Like, this is why I said yes to coming to this planet and being on this journey. So as I said, this is a soul forging year, and you want to let yourself be forged by it. You know, almost like envision putting on this ring, making this commitment to what's going to come, because what's going to come is ultimately mysterious. And this is why we need like this commitment piece, why we need the commitment to our own individual sparks, our own individual selves, the mystery of our own journeys, that original commitment that brought us here, that is so dear to the center of our souls and selves and hearts. We need this because, you know, what makes a ring a ring? The center, right? This empty center, the void, the black hole. So the void is what makes the ring possible. And there's this element, right, when we're making like a commitment, is we're also committing to the mystery. We're committing to that void because the void is the very thing that is making our commitment possible. So to make a commitment is to plunge yourself into mystery, to say, I'm committing to this even though I don't know what's going to come next, even though I don't know how it's going to come about. So there is sometimes in our culture like a little bit of fear around the void, especially in Western culture. There's this fear around nothingness, you know, like the black hole. Literally, we call them black holes, right? I'm going to talk a little bit about black holes from like a stellar perspective in a moment. But first, I want to talk about this concept of the void, right? There's many other classical traditions around the world, especially traditions coming out of the East, which really resonate with me around the void, where the void is not this place of nothingness. It's not a lack. It is the origin place. It is the mystery itself. It is the generative darkness out of which all things arise. It is nothingness in that it is like the womb space before something comes into creation. So in Taoism, this would be the Wu Ji. This is the source of all existence that precedes duality. This is this like rich potential place. The void contains all potentials. There's a quote from Alan Watts where he says, the void is creative. Being comes from non-being as sound from silence and light from space. So in this concept in Taoism, this void space, it's literally the idea of it. It's like the Tao in stillness. It's like all the unmanifest aspects of the Tao, this animating force of this universe, the central stream or thread that is here to guide you through your life. That all exists inside of the void. The void is what is giving birth to that. So there's such a powerful generative aspect of embracing the void, of being in the void, and the void as womb space, as original place. There's something about this year, 2025, and its bigness, that we're like going back to an original place. We're remembering more of our original place of who we are in our essentiality. We will not, what my guides told me is like, we will not come out the same on the other side as we went into this year. And that should be exciting, even though it's a little trepidating sometimes, but change is life, right? And the forging aspect of this is going to bring through really new qualities for all of us, and within our world. So I think it was actually really important that this image of the black hole came in for me, because the more that I learned about black holes on the other side of this really wild experience of seeing this image and thinking, oh my Lord, like that is what I've been seeing, the more I really see how the black hole is such an important like anchor for us as we understand the void, as we understand the generative space of mystery. So what we know about how black holes work, and this is very simplistic understanding of like what I can conceive of and transmute, but black holes happen when really, really huge stars, like these very generative aspects of the universe, right, implode upon themselves. And it's like their mass is so big that the gravity of that implosion just continues. And so then it becomes, from our eye, what we see is the ring around this black hole is called the event horizon, and it's surrounding this dark space. And this is actually how we've figured out how to take a picture of a black hole, is by tracking the event horizons. And what you're seeing is the event horizon itself. That's the red ring. And so what we know, actually, for a while, we thought, oh, like, is information going into this black hole, things going into the black hole and then like ceasing to exist, or jumping timelines. What we do know is that like all of the information that exists in a star or that is approaching a black hole, like it doesn't actually disappear. It all continues to exist on this like event horizon timeline. And you know, why this is really fascinating to me is because it's, first of all, it's really regenerating our idea of like what a black hole is, that it's not like disappearing into nothingness, but that it is this generative creatrix force, one that we're still really understanding, like what actually happens within a black hole. It you know, what is coming out the other side? Is there an other side? We know that things do come back out of black holes eventually, that the information still exists there. So what I will say about this, and why I think this is like such a powerful affirmation to come in after me receiving this image, is that just like black holes, there's a lot of mystery in this upcoming year. And it's not necessarily because there's things that need to be veiled for us, but it's because things are still being decided. Like timelines are still changing, potentials are still coming into being. And so it's a bit right now like we are going into this black hole. We are going to this void of like, we don't know what's going to happen. We don't know what's going to happen on the other side, what's going to come out of this. We know that we're not looking at like like an extinction, like we're not going into nothingness, right? But that we're going into a space where the potential lives for timelines to change, and where the not knowing is actually a blessing, because when we don't know, it means we can be in a greater space of creation. It means that what's going to happen is not yet set in stone, and that our commitment to our own soul's journey and to like the things that light us up, like that is actually an important part of forging what comes next for our world. It's essential for that. So if in any way you can, in this next year or moving into this year, like befriend the void as a creative place, as the thing that's going to bring you into even remembering your commitments in this lifetime. Like it goes both ways, right? Like when you step into the mystery, you encounter the mystery of your own self. So this is to say that there might be some serious black hole moments this upcoming year, but as someone who just lived through a very big black hole experience, surviving Hurricane Helene, where I live in the mountains of Western North Carolina, I'm going to tell you that surviving a black hole moment, a really, really huge life-changing moment, there is a really powerful soul energizing, soul forging aspect to it. There's like a divine clarity and redirection that can come out of those moments. So this is a gift. Ultimately, it's a gift. So how do we work with this? You're like, okay, Asia, like the golden ring, black holes, commitments, befriending the mystery. Like, what do I do? Like this image now I'm holding in my mind of the golden ring moving into this year of like deep potential, powerful passage. change and recommitment. How do I work with this? Well, I want to bring in my own experiences of guiding people in journey work and in hypnosis, because my experiences when I was working with people in these altered states is that there would many times be experiences where people entered into the void and nothing was happening. And it was disappointing for them, right? Like they'd be like, why am I in this void? Nothing is happening. I don't see anything. It's just black and quiet and nothing. And my experience with that for folks who have these void experiences in journey work or in trance work or hypnosis or meditation is that the void is often the thing that happens before the leap. And what I say to them when I guide folks in this way is I often say, do you see or feel anything? Anything at all, even if it's the slightest little thing. And if you do, whatever you see or feel, that is what you're meant to move towards. And so it's almost like attuning to the subtlest little hints and clues here, and then moving towards that. There's going to be a clarifying piece here of opening oneself when you're in a void experience, of seeing and attuning to whatever that subtle thing is that you do sense or know or hear or feel, and then moving towards that. And so here's a guideline for you through this year, is this invitation to reconnect to what I'm calling original desire. And that is like the thing that is propelling you forward, the irresistible pull, like that gravity almost that exists inside of a black hole, right? It's like what is the irresistible pull in your life that it's just like you just can't help but be intrigued by it, fascinated by it, want to move towards it. Maybe it doesn't make sense, but you're just like that, I don't know, it's that thing, or, that avenue, that person, that inspiration. Like, I want you to trust the original desire and the irresistible pull, to trust it and let the gravity of that be here to hold you, and know that you won't be dropped as you move towards it. Because that's the fear, right? Like, especially when it's something that is, a little left field or maybe uncharted, we can feel like, well, if I start moving towards that, like I'm just going to drop. But to know that like you're held as you move towards those irresistible pulls, they're really important. So I invite you to maybe make a list of the things you're feeling pulled towards right now. And if you don't have that list, or there's nothing on the list, then think about yourself as a child or earlier in your life. Like, what were your obsessions? What were your passions like during these sort of more innocent, original times in your life? Like, what were the things that you were deeply fascinated by? Often that list can show us or give us clues for what is like the original desire inside of us, like the original desire of our souls. So, this year I have this feeling that it's going to be less about like working really hard to build something, although you might work really hard and you might build something, but that the driving energy through which the building will come is surrendering to the pull. That it's like you'll go much further if you just surrender to what is pulling you ahead. And the phrase came through that it's like the irresistible pulls are what is going to bring us through the event horizon. That's what we call this like red ring that surrounds these black holes. And I like this in particular because, one of the things about event horizons is it seems like time and space ceases to exist, which is cool, right? But I think this is helpful when we have there might be some really big events this year, global events. That's the feeling that I get. And when something big happens, especially something that feels like unbalancing or upsetting or off kilter, to like reframe it as like, this is an event horizon, right? That this event horizon is actually something that is working with the timeline of this planet, and it is pulling me towards my soul's calling. It's showing me what's most important, what my work is in this lifetime. And it's pulling me into what I would like to rename black holes as, which is the generative space that is unknown. It's like pulling me into the generative space that is unknown. So when these events happen and they feel like upsetting or unbalancing, like, think of them instead of as events. This is an event horizon through which I'm being shown what is most important for me, and I'm being pulled into this generative space, inner space and outer space that is unknown, but that is ultimately here to help me birth the next era of my life. I think it's also really important this year to have some practices that are all about befriending the mystery. Like, what does that mean to befriend the mystery? To really feel like the mystery is a force that is benevolent, that is caring for you, that cares for you. So some things that come to mind for me are spending time in darkness, maybe just having the evening be by candlelight or spending time outside in the darkness. Meditating with the void, like having a meditation practice where you imagine yourself floating in the void, floating in stillness. Maybe you even have like a flotation tank company near you where you can go float in darkness. But any of these practices of like connecting into that space, like the Zazen meditation of just like the focus on the nothingness, the void, that generative space, like any of these practices are going to be really helpful as we move into this year ahead where so much is unknown, but so much is like being forged. And you're a part of that forging. You are creating that forging by being willing to pay attention to the irresistible pulls in your own life, being open to the mystery and committing to your own soul and your own soul's journey and to like remembering what those original commitments are. So leave space for the mystery, leave space for the potential and the unfolding, and know that, nothingness is really just a space where something new can arise. So especially if you're in a space where some of it feels unknown or undefined, that there's so much here that is coming out of this space, of this void space, and that ultimately this is the heart of life's mystery. Right? That like when you're touching these void spaces in your own life, or you feel like you're in a black hole, you are touching the heart of the mystery of existence, which is that out of nothingness arises something. And that's powerful. That's very, very powerful to connect to. So, if it feels good to do so, literally imagine like putting that ring on, like you can feel its warmth, its weight, and just sink into this phrase, which is something my guides told me as I was closing out my meditation to bring in the information around this image, which is that you are supported. Like you are so, so supported. And the more you feel that, and the more you surrender to it, the more you trust it, the more you will be held. So like the more you surrender, the more you can trust. And so it doesn't necessarily have to come first, right? Like you don't have to trust first. You can start surrendering and then the trust will come because you'll see that you're held, you're buoyed, you are within this space, this generative void. So this year might require some courage, but I think that is like a really powerful thing. There's no doubt about it, right? Like this year is calling for us to step in with courage to face the unknown, the courage that it takes to surrender to that irresistible pull in your life. But this ultimately is a remaking. It's a forging. It's a reorganization, a remembering, like literally a putting back together, a recommitment. And through this year, you'll be able to touch some of the original timeline that has been in place for your life. The original timeline when that was embedded into this plan for your one sacred, precious, amazing, unfolding, magical life. And so that's what can come out of the generative mystery of this upcoming year, just through making this commitment to your own self and your own unfolding. So that is my reading for 2025. Thank you for tuning in. If part of your plans for 2025 is including starting a business or stepping into the next phase of your business, we are doing our yearly sale on my business course called Business as a Spiritual Journey. And if you're listening to this live or real time, then this sale is going to start next week. So you can tune into that. And if you're listening to this later and the sale's not happening, no worries. The course is available year round. But if you are here listening in January, then definitely tune into that sale. If you have a business and it is something that you are like ready to have your business carry you through the uncertainty of the times ahead, like through the generative mystery of what's about to happen and the timelines that are shifting and changing and the commitment that's soul forging inside of you that is driving you, the irresistible pull. Like if you have an irresistible pull to step into creating a business or to up-level your business, then I'd love to see you there. So thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening. And thank you so much for all the commitments that you are making to yourself, to your path, to your passion, to your purpose, because it all matters so much in the making of this world.